I'd like to move on to the next presentation, which is 92 Energy and Siobhan Lancaster. Many reasons, but also mostly, I think, for its extraordinary grades of uranium and some of the most extraordinary mines on the planet, and incredibly prospective, especially when your first exploration campaign comes up with something quite extraordinary. Siobhan's got a background as a corporate executive and also a Namibian connection there with the Athabasca Discovery and the subsequent monetisation through a takeover there, and very well versed to be able to speak to both the prospects in the Athabasca Basin, but also positioning the company for future. Please.
Thank you. Hi everyone, thanks so much for having me, and it's great to be able to talk about the Athabasca Basin in Canada, which as we had the introduction, is the highest grade uranium district globally. So you would have heard from the last two projects, which are fantastic projects located in Africa. They've got grades around 250 ppm. We're looking at grades that are 10 times higher those grades in the Athabasca Basin at the project that we've just discovered called the GMZ. Fascinating start to the company's life. 92 Energy only listed a year and a half ago. We discovered uranium on our 4th drill hole ever, which is pretty extraordinary for a company. It was a greenfields exploration play, so great job from the technical team. And we've also just potentially made a second discovery. It's kind of on the edge. So this is the Tower project, which is only 10 kilometres from Cigar Lake, which of course is the highest grade uranium mine in the world. So we just hit radioactivity in 3 out of 4 holes on the Tower project. So great start to our history, and I'm really pleased to talk to you today about what it is that we're doing and what we'll be doing going forward. So key investment points. As we spoke about, we are exploring for uranium in the highest grade district in the world. So in Canada, they talk in percentages of uranium, they don't talk in ppms. But for the purpose of this audience, I'm going to convert everything to ppms so that you all understand how it benchmarks against our colleagues in Africa. So as I said, we're talking upwards in the percentages. Some of our grades include 42 metres at 0.6% at the GMZ uranium discovery, and there's some intervals within that of 2.1%. So they're humongous grades. That's 21,000 ppm. So compare that to the 250 ppm in Canada and in Africa, and you're starting to understand the differences. We, as I said, have had a lot of early success with the drill bit. We really do have a world-class exploration team. They've proven it over and over again how amazing they are with the drill bit, and I'm absolutely delighted to be working with them. And of course, as Brandon and Guy have pointed out, the uranium market fundamentals are the best fundamentals we've had in at least 12 years. The market really is starting to show that gap between the supply and demand. The sentiment has shifted. Everybody is looking at how they can decarbonise their energy grid and have that energy security. So it's a fantastic time to be in the uranium market. The spot price has moved tremendously since we listed this company. It started off at $30 a pound. It's now sitting around 50. So, when it does move, it moves pretty quickly, and it sort of goes through peaks of movement, and once it starts moving, it tends to move fast. This is a famous photo of the Athabasca Basin. You can see that there's several mines in the Athabasca Basin, Cigar Lake and MacArthur River. They're both Cameco mines. Cigar Lake, has grades of 15% uranium, so extremely high grade uranium there. Our Tower project, as I alluded to that, is only 10 kilometres from Cigar Lake. And of course, we've had that early success there in the sandstone and the basement. And the GMZ is right on the edge of the basin. So really, in terms of exploring in the Athabasca Basin, you want to be as close to the edge of the basin as possible. It means the drilling is shallower, and it also means that if you have a discovery, it tends to be that you can dig it straight out of the ground and not have to go into underground mining. So tremendous place to be. And of course, a very early success at the GMZ. It's got some great similarities to a mine called the Rabbit Lake mine. This was a mine that was mined in the 70s and the 80s. It was a near-surface open pit mine with average grades around 0.3%, so very similar to what we're looking at in terms of depth and grade profile at the GMZ. Sorry, one thing I also forgot to mention was we're very close to existing infrastructure. You can see the Key Lake mill just to the south of the GMZ there. The actual old Key Lake mining road used to actually go through the GMZ itself. So very good position to be in terms of the basin and where we're located. So quick highlight about the GMZ. It's a near-surface discovery with open pit potential. It starts at 60 metres and goes to about 210 metres vertically below surface. We've had some recent assays with high-grade results, so 43 metres at 0.62% uranium. You can see those conversions to ppm. That includes 18 metres at 1.16% with a sub-interval of 6 metres at 2.17%. So for those gold people in the room, that converts to a gold equivalent of 39 grams per tonne for those 6 metres. So extremely high grades. It remains open, so we've only drilled 220 metres of 1.8 kilometres of prospective strike. And I think this is the really exciting point. So what we've done is we've proven there's one zone, it's continuous, it hangs together, but there's potential for many, many more zones to be discovered along trend. And I say that because this is a common feature of Athabasca deposits, so they tend to come in multiple zones along strike and along the trend there. And of course, we're currently doing a geophysics program, which I'll talk to about. We're fingerprinting the GMZ zone to ascertain whether that fingerprint applies to the north and around the trend that we've got. So very exciting times, and lots to come of that. This is just a little bit of a show-off slide. It just shows the rapid progress that we've made in a really short time. We really don't stuff about at 92 Energy. We did our IPO in record time. Straight away we flew a VTEM. We actually got out on the ground almost before the VTEM results were completed to actually go out and drill the targets that came of that, and discovered the GMZ on that fourth drill hole ever. So that was 5.5 metres at 0.12%, which is 1200 ppm. And we upgraded that GMZ discovery in the last 2 drill programs. So we've really vectored into those high-grade results. We've been intersecting radioactivity and uranium mineralisation consistently across all of our drill programs. And we've done a great job of really proving, as I said, that this is a continuous zone of uranium. It is a new discovery in the Athabasca Basin, and I would argue it is the best new discovery in the Athabasca Basin at the moment. So really, this Australian team has come in and really done very, very well in the Athabasca Basin in a very short period of time. I won't go through this too much, but basically, again, it just goes to the grades. The thing is that the intervals are really fat, so we're looking at 43, 50 metre intervals of uranium mineralisation. So again, that nice continuous zone of uranium that you want to see. We're still waiting on some of our assay results. So what we've put out to the market to date on the last drill program was EU308 results. So that's a downhole probe converted result. Very lucky with uranium mineralisation because you get radioactivity, which when you have enough detail about that radioactivity, you can convert to an EU308 result. So those assays that we're waiting on really should just confirm the results that we've already put out to the market. This again is a cross-section. What's important to really note here is that you can see the graphite in the grey on the bottom of the screen, and as you sort of come off that graphite, the uranium mineralisation sort of starts to fall off. The reason I point this out is because one of the things we're looking for in the geophysics program is to really target those graphitic zones. So the graphitic zones of mineralisation tends to be where that high-grade uranium hangs, and we'll also be able to sort of determine where there's little dips and divots as well, which tends to be where the high-grade uranium sits. It's quite nuggety, the uranium in the Athabasca Basin, so you can literally go from having zero mineralisation to 20% in a matter of 5 metres. That's sort of how it works in the Athabasca. But we're getting a pretty consistent grade across most of the ore here, which is quite nice. And as I said, grades and depths very comparable to the Rabbit Lake deposit, which was also near surface. This basically just shows the first of these zones that I'm talking about, which is the GMZ zone that we've concentrated on. You can see it's pretty much open in most directions. The high grade sort of spins around in this south direction. That blue sort of hatched line there is actually the baseload boundary. So there is another uranium discovery just on the other side of that boundary line there. The reason I point that out is because their highest grade intersection is right in the corner of where that boundary is. So we sort of know the high grade is swinging around in that direction and should continue all the way to the boundary. There's another 110 metres yet to be drilled in that area, which sounds very small compared to, for example, a Namibian deposit. But when you're looking at these high grade deposits, they tend to have tiny footprints, 500 by 500 metres. So that 110 metres has the ability to have significant mineralisation in it. And of course, that continues to go to the north. This is the slide that gets me super excited and really what I wanted to talk to you about today. So the GMZ, which is that last plan view that I just showed you before, is that tiny little box in the bottom southerly corner there. So we've drilled 200 metres of 1.8 kilometre strike. As I said, the geophysics program that we're currently undertaking will really be looking at that horseshoe bend there. So where do we think that geophysical signature is going to continue along strike, both up to the north and sort of as that horseshoe bend curves around there? So there's potentially many zones in there. Even if we were just to find 1 or 2 new zones, that's a massive win for us, and has the ability to significantly expand how large the uranium mineralisation is here as well. So not only is that geophysics program going to be looking for additional zones, but it'll also look for the areas where the GMZ has the higher grade uranium associated with it. So we do know one of the features associated with our uranium mineralisation is that there's magnetite in there, so you can look for a high magnetic in that low magnetic trend to ascertain exactly where that high grade mineralisation is. So we should be able to go in and target it really efficiently with our drill bit as we go back in the next drilling season. So we're due to go back in February of this year, and the geophysics program, it's just been completed. We're currently waiting for all the results to come through from that, and that will be announced to the market within the next couple of weeks, I would say. This is just a very common diagrammatic of the Athabasca Basin. You can see here that there's 2 different types of deposits. There's the ones on the right-hand side, which are hosted in the sandstone, and the ones on the left, which are basement-hosted. We are a basement-hosted system. That means that traditional mining activities can be sort of implemented if you are to develop it in the mine. You can see all those grey areas are actually areas that have been mined, as well as Cigar Lake and MacArthur River. What I will say about Cigar Lake and MacArthur River is they're massive ore bodies, so that gives them the ability for the economics to work out in those particular areas. But you really want to be on the left-hand side of this diagram. Next steps for Gemini, we're waiting for those assays, we're waiting for the geophysics, drill planning is obviously commencing as well. Just quickly about Tower, we had some really great success at Tower. 3 out of the 4 drill holes intersected radioactivity. It was a complete surprise to us once again, and we're waiting for the assays to come back on those. That will be another project that we'll follow up on. It's 10 kilometres from Cigar Lake in absolute elephant country, so if there is a discovery there in that immediate area, that would be a fantastic win as well. And you can see those follow-up drill holes that we'll be looking at. I'm not going to go into the market, but just quickly on our corporate snapshot, we've got $8 million in the bank, a major shareholder of ISO Energy, and a very, very experienced management and board. I was Extract Resources, who sold the Husab mine for $2.2 billion during the last uranium cycle. I was a key part of that team, and obviously Steve Blower and Kane and Sariaglu are absolute experts in the Athabasca Basin. They've discovered many uranium mineralised zones there, so pleasure to have them on our team. So that's basically it. Newest, best discovery in the Athabasca Basin, very high-grade uranium exploration play with massive potential upside on the exploration side, as well as a market that is absolutely roaring to go. So that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it.
Just intrigued on the image you had there, which was that it was mag, but you had some EM conductors, but the EM conductors didn't seem to sit with the mineralisation that is graphite hosted.
So are you talking about that one?
Yeah, so your EM conductors,
Yeah, so that was a VTEM. This is why we're doing some closer EM at the moment. So the VTEM we think was done at a sort of widespread distancing and is slightly off, which is why we've been redoing this. But actually that conductor does come down because there is graphite associated with all the mineralisation in the GMZ as well.
so is it still classified as an unconformity zone?
It's an unconformity related. So what actually happens in the Athabasca Basin was all the sandstone was eroded over the years, and so it has come through in the same methodology as what an unconformity sandstone hosted deposit is, but the sandstone is no longer in existence, so it's just gone into the basement now.
And last question, just on those stunning grades, which are so characteristic of the Athabasca, are anyone currently mining open cut operations? I'm just thinking about radiation management, workforce and so forth.
So no, Rabbit Lake has just recently sort of been rehabbed. So there's no open cut operations at the moment. The only two existing mines in the Athabasca at the moment are MacArthur River and Cigar Lake. But, these types of mines have been mined in the Athabasca before, so not a stretch of the imagination that they'll be mined again.
Oh, it'll certainly be really positive. It's pure open cut.
For sure. Hi.
As a shareholder, I'm concerned to see that you need cash fairly soon. Am I right on that?
No, we don't need, we're not looking to do any raise until midway through next year. We are an exploration company, so we do tend to spend money on exploration. That's what we do to try and, increase the value and prove the size and the deposit up. So, we're not looking until midway through next year.
Siobhan, you're back on deck on February. What is the short-term drill program? How many holes?
So we haven't actually announced it to the market, but it'll probably be somewhere around 5,000 metres.
Which should drill quite a few holes because you don't have to go too deep.
Well, they're 300-metre holes, yeah.
In the interest of time, we'll move on, but we will stay with the Athabasca Basin, so
Great.
we'll actually learn
Thanks a
some
lot.
more. Thank you very much.